When we begin to do something, when we are at the starting point of doing something, we look far at the road to say, will this thing succeed? But because we are so wired to want guarantee in our lives, a lot of us still find ourselves to be stuck at the beginning of doing something, being afraid to do something because we want guarantee in our life. That's why a lot of people take the easy route in life. Hey friends, and welcome to the Unpack Show podcast with myself, Johannes Baloyi. And thank you for joining me, because this is a place where we unpack the question we come across as we go about building and improving our lives. Friends, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you can be notified when we release a new episode. And speaking of the challenges that comes in our mind as we go about building and improving our lives, this week, I want to talk about something interesting again. And this week, I want to talk about why are you still stuck? Literally, why are you still stuck? In each and every area of your life, why are you still stuck? Never growing and making progress in your life. And the thing is, as people, we cannot do the things we aspire to do because we are afraid to be laughed at. And also the fear of walking alone in the unknown. And speaking about the fear of being laughed at, this is actually one of the biggest challenge that a lot of people come across as they go about doing the things they aspire. And this is one of the most bigger challenge because of it makes people to get stuck in their life and to never be able to do the things that they want to do. Because right now, a lot of people have ideas. A lot of people have plans that they want to do, but they cannot do the things that they want or the things that they plan to do because of people are afraid to be laughed at. And with this challenge of people being afraid to be laughed at, let's go back to the time when we were still in school, because I think this is where the problem started, or this is where everything started. Because throughout our childhood development, particularly when we were still in school, we all faced this problem, or we all faced this challenge of being afraid to be laughed at. Because I remember, and you can imagine that when we were still in school, when it was time for us to read in each and every subject, either be it English or whatever the home language that will be that you have done in school or that you will be doing in school, a lot of us, when we attempted to read, we got laughed at by our fellow learners, or we got laughed at by our classmates. And this is the biggest challenge that made it impossible and made it hard for us to continue to attempt to read. Because the moment we got laughed at, that situation of being laughed at, it actually made us to belittle ourselves. It actually made us to feel like it is impossible for us to read because we were laughed at. And spending a lot of time being laughed at when you attempt to read, it actually paralyzed our self-confidence and also our self-esteem. Because when your self-esteem is so down, when you don't have any confidence, you cannot be able to show up. You cannot be able to do the things that you want to do or to try the things when it's time for you to be able to step up and do something. That's why when we were still in school, it's where everything started. Because school is one area in our life where our childhood development begins. Or it is the beginning of our childhood development, I would say so. So in that time when we were still in school, a lot of us were laughed at when we attempted to read. And because of that fear of being laughed at, we literally stopped and never continued to read when we were still in school. And I think from there, we grew up with this fear of being laughed at. Because a lot of us right now, as older as we are in life, there are things that we are afraid to do in our lives because we are afraid of what people will say. We are afraid of people laughing at our own imperfections. Because the reason why you don't want to do something is because of you're going to reveal your imperfections. And when people see or people become aware of your imperfections, it's where people will laugh at you. So a lot of us, we are afraid to do things. A lot of us, we are still stuck with ideas, with plans, because of we are afraid to reveal our imperfections. And there's something interesting and phenomenal, something that actually gave me a little bit of perspective, something that really changed my life. I learned something from Vusi Tembekwayo on one of his master classes, and he said this on the master classes. And also I remember he said, I remember quietly, he talked about this on his interview with Tom Bilu, and he said that when he was young, he was told by his father that the first time you do something, you're going to be terrible at whatever it is that you do, because it is your first time to do something. Remember back when you were still young, when you started to begin to walk, there were countless times where you attempted to walk and you fell down. So the thing about our childhood development is that our mothers, our parents, our guardians continue to actually encourage us to stand up and attempt to walk again. And the reason why we became so good, or the reason why we succeeded in walking, it is because each and every moment when we fell down, they actually encouraged us to take a stand and attempt to walk again. And I think even at this stage in life, even at this point in life, as old as we are, we actually need to encourage each other. We actually need to encourage ourselves, mostly to build, so that we can boost our self-confidence and our self-esteem, to say, no matter how many mistakes that you do in your life, take a stand, dust yourself, and keep walking again. And realize this, because it's something that I think when I learned this from Vusi Tembekwayo, I thought to myself that this is true, because for the first time you do something in your life, you're so terrible at it. I remember back, it was in March 2021 when we started doing the Unpacked show. There were a lot of mistakes that we did. Lots of mistakes that we did. That's why we shot about 2 episodes of the Unpacked Show podcast. And I told my whole team that, you know what, guys, let's just stop and continue doing the Unpacked Show podcast as audio podcast, because of we are so terrible at videos. We are so terrible at visualizing the Unpacked Show podcast, because it was our first time in doing it. And imagine in your life that first time you attempted to do something, you were so terrible in that thing. That's why it was impossible for you to continue doing that thing, because of you needed, or you lacked the people in your side to actually encourage you, to tell you, you know what, keep doing this thing, no matter how imperfect it may seem to be. And another thing is the fear of walking alone into the unknown. And this brings me to an interesting thing. So there's a poem, The Road Not Taken, by Robert Frost. So the opening of the poem says, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bends in the undergrowth. I love something about this poem, and this last line that says, to where it bends in the undergrowth. Oh, it says, and I looked down one as far as I could, to where it bends in the undergrowth. So most of the time, when we begin to do something, there's a point in our lives where we look down at the journey, at where it ends, or at where it leads us, because of we keep asking ourselves that in this thing that I'm doing, I'm not sure how it's going to come out. I'm not sure whether it's going to succeed. So we stand at the starting point for a very long time, looking at where the roads goes, to ask ourselves that, will this thing succeed? Will this thing work out? And there's an interesting part of this poem where another line along this poem that says, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And if you can listen to most of successful people, the people who've done well in their life, they're gonna tell you that at the beginning of their journey, when they started to do something, all of them, they took a risk to say, you know what, this thing, I'm not sure how it's going to come out. I'm not sure if it's going to work out, but I'm just taking a risk to see if this thing will work. And there's a beautiful words that says, take a risk. If you succeed, good. If it doesn't, then you will take a stand, dust yourself, and learn from your mistakes. And I think it's something important that we need to learn, because most of the time we are afraid to take risks because we are afraid to lose. So the fear of losing or the fear of failure, it holds us back from starting to do or to be able to establish or execute whatever it is that we want to do in our lives. And the reason behind being afraid to walk into the unknown or chasing our dreams is because of the fear of being imperfect. And as people, we want guarantee in everything we do. And that's why many of us are still stuck with ideas and plans that are never being executed. And like I said, when we begin to do something, when we are at the starting point of doing something, we look far at the road to say, will this thing succeed? But because we are so wired to want guarantee in our lives, a lot of us still find ourselves to be stuck at the beginning of doing something, being afraid to do something because we want guarantee in our life. That's why a lot of people take the easy road in life. So this previous week, I was watching this other video on TikTok. It was a Muslim, and he said something interesting, something that relates to our reality of life. And he said that a lot of us young people in this day and age, we want money, but we don't want to work for the money that we want. That's why in today's age, as young people, that's why we get ourselves into prostitution and being a drug dealer or being a drug runner. Because being a prostitute and being a drug dealer and a drug runner, it gives you money in a simple way. And of course, it's not everyone who gets to be a prostitute or being a drug runner or a drug dealer because of not wanting to work hard. We all have reasons as to why we are doing those things. But a lot of people don't want to work hard for the money they want. That's why they take the easy road in order to do the things that they want in life. And that's why I mentioned this poem, Two Roots Diverge in a Yellow Wood, to this interesting part where it says, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. I think the time or the moment we can be able to tell ourselves that, and to encourage ourselves to have the confidence and high self-esteem to be able to take risks, it's when we will be able to make it in life. And I think environment has a huge impact in influencing us to never be able to break through certain situations or certain routines. And I'm saying this because where we grow up, or the place where you get born, or the place where you go about through the place where you go through the place where you grow up, or the place where you are for your childhood development, it determines exactly who you're going to become in your life, or the things that you're going to achieve in your life. And if you can check, we constantly talk in this day and age, you constantly talk about lack of opportunities. And there's one thing that I've came to realize, and there's one thing that I've came to learn about life, that there's a difference between people who talk about lack of opportunities in life. People who talk about lack of opportunities mostly are the people who come from townships, people who come from rural villages, people who come from the places that are underdeveloped. Those are the people who constantly talk about lack of opportunities in life. Because when you look at people who live in big cities, who lives in urban areas, those people never complain about lack of opportunities in their lives. Why? Because of those people are exposed to resources that are at their disposal to be able to use so that they can further their plans and execute the things that they want. And for us who come from villages, rural areas, we are the ones who constantly talk about lack of opportunities in our lives. But there's something interesting that I've came to realize, that lack of opportunities or lack of resources to start whatever it is that you want to do it shouldn't entirely be the reason why we don't start or why we are still stuck. Because one thing that I got to realize is that there are resources. There are resources at our disposal. It's just that a lot of us in rural areas, and to move out of the perspective or out of the context of rural areas, a lot of us poor people who are poor in mind, we cannot be able to share resources with other people who need to use those resources. We are holding on to the things with the mentality of entitlement. We don't want to help each other. That's why a lot of us, particularly in our country, South Africa, each and every person, when they want to be successful in life, they tell themselves that I'm going to Johannesburg. Others go to Cape Town, others go to Durban, others of course go to Polokwane, which is our nearby town, because I myself am here based in Mokopane. So these are the places where people go to. Why? Because of the people in those big cities. They are there to help each other. They are there to give a helping hand. They are there to support each other. While us here in rural areas, while us here in underdeveloped communities, in underdeveloped towns, we are so stingy in helping each other. That's why we constantly talk about lack of opportunities and lack of resources. But truth be told, that lack of resources and lack of opportunities, it's not actually the reason why we should get ourselves stuck. There's a point where we can start, or that's why there's this words that says, take each and everything one step at a time. And of course, as you take each and everything one step at a time, there's going to be a point in life where you'll need to move to the next town, or where you'll need to move to the next place. But while you would have started exactly where you are. And I think the reason why us people in underdeveloped communities or in rural areas, the reason why we cannot help each other, it is because of the limiting conversations that we constantly have, and also being afraid to be different. So the limiting conversation that we have, they actually make it impossible for us to be able to excel, to be able to free ourselves from certain situations, to be able to accomplish the things that we want, and to be able to succeed in each and everything that we want to do. And these are the limiting conversations such as entitlement. So the mindset of entitlement is the one that actually make it impossible for people to be able to excel, for people to be able to use your resources so that you can be able to further your plans. Because to tell you something interesting, you see, right now with this Unpacked show being produced, I'm going to tell you this something, and this is a secret that not everyone may be able to realize. We are producing the Unpacked show podcast with 0. We are just friends in our community. We have built a community of friends where we are helping each other with resources, with ideas. That's why I'm able to produce the Unpacked show. That's why a friend of mine, Emmanuel Mashala, is able to build Mashala Media to where it is. That's why a friend of mine, David Murudu, is able to excel in whatever he's doing in his life, to the companies and the ideas that he has. I have another friend of mine, which is Daniel Langa. That's why he's excelling in producing films. That's why he's excelling in doing model in establishing his business, which is Mautahat Expression, to be excelling in his business, or on his two businesses, because of the community of people who came together in order to do things and help each other to excel. But we are living in a rural area. So I'm saying this because of the conversation that we have, our productive conversation of how can we excel? What is it that you have that I can use at my disposal in order to do the things that I want in my life? There's a book titled Where Has My Ceiling Gone by Warren Viernman and Sally Acost. I love the subtitle of this book, and it says, "Is this it? Is this as good as my life will get?" So this is a story of twin brothers who were born in a poor and a humbled family. Their names were John and Michael. So in this story, it happened that John and Michael, after they passed their standard 6, they had to sacrifice their education to help their father earn a living. And this situation of having to sacrifice their education, it broke the twins, and more especially John, because John had a dream of one day seeing himself as a teacher. And though he shared with his father his dream of one day seeing himself as a teacher, his father constantly told him that he should forget about his dream, to focus on the reality of their life, that they are poor. They will never amount to be anyone above their situation, or they should never imagine that they will ever get out of the situation they were in. And even the people in the neighborhood continue to tell the twins that they should never think that they will become anything more than who they were. And this tells a lot about culture, because culture is the way we do things, or how we live, a way of living, or the way we do things, by the way. So in this story, it tells a lot about how as people we are programmed to follow the rules, to follow a way that we found people have been living in, and to venture into that journey, or to continue doing things the way they did them without ever asking. Because John, when the twins were born, they came into a new environment, which is the community and the family background they lived in. And they found their family and the people in a neighborhood living in a certain way, with the belief that they will never amount to anything more than where they were in life. And they believe that that's where their life will end. They believe that they will never be able to move out of that situation. They will never be able to be successful more than they were, because of they got used to begging. They got used to going in townships, in suburbs, going through the dustbin, searching for things that will be able to resell. Some of the things are things that they got and they resold them. Some of the things were food that they got on the dustbin. They lived on those things on daily basis. So in the morning, every single day, they would wake up, go to the cities to search through the dustbin of rich people, to go perhaps that they can find the things that they can use, or the things that they would resell in order to get money so that they can put the bread on the table. So generally, this was the lifestyle that the people were used to living. And John kept dreaming that he would one day see himself as a teacher. But because of the situation he found himself in, because of the things that they constantly told him, it made him, that thing or that teaching or the things they were constantly being told, it made them to give up on their dreams. You see, so the thing about culture, there's a video that I once watched. They say that in that video they put 5 monkeys in a cage, and they put a step ladder and a banana at the top of the ladder. So one monkey attempted to climb the ladder in order to get the banana. And when the monkey, at the monkey's attempt to climb the ladder, they poured water into the cage. And the 4 monkeys pulled down the other monkey that attempted to climb and beat that monkey. And that monkey never attempted again to climb. And another monkey again attempted to climb the ladder. They poured the water and they pulled the monkey back, and that monkey got beaten. And so the process continued with those 5 monkeys. And it happened that they pulled out one monkey and replaced it with a new monkey in the cage. And the monkey, when it saw the banana at the top of the ladder, it attempted to climb the ladder in order to get the banana, and it got beaten on its attempt to climb the ladder. And the monkey got used that no one is supposed to climb the ladder. And they removed one monkey and replaced it with a new monkey. When the new monkey got into the cage, it attempted to climb the ladder, and it got beaten on its attempt to climb the ladder and get the banana. So the routine continued. And so it happened that they removed 4 monkeys and left one monkey. And with those 4 monkeys, they were new monkeys. And the one monkey attempted to climb the ladder in order to get the banana at the top of the ladder. That monkey that remained, it pulled down that one monkey that tried to attempt to climb the ladder and gave it a beat. And that monkey got beaten basically. So they didn't tell the end story in this video, but the story tells a lot about culture. When you find people doing things the way they do them. Oftentimes, when you want to do things in a different way, you are told that you are not supposed to think different. You are not supposed to do things in a different way. You are supposed to join people and do things the way people do them. And I want you to imagine in your life that when was the time you thought of doing something that is out of the extraordinary, and you tried to tell people your plan, you tried to tell people your idea, and they never understood the idea. They told you that this thing is impossible. They told you that you are incompetent to do that thing that you attempted to do. And this is actually what happens with our culture. To say, the moment you want to step outside of the comfort zone and do things in a different way, you get pulled down by weights, by the limiting conversation that we constantly have on a daily basis to say, you cannot do it. You are not supposed to do it. You are incompetent. You don't have the resources. You don't have the opportunities. You don't have the connections. So these are the things that people use in order to pull us back whenever we try to climb the ladder of success or to do the things that we want to do in our lives. And even though John was told to forget his dreams, he continued to dream more in silence. But as for his brother Michael, he lost his dreams and accepted his reality. And this tells a lot about how when people tell us that we cannot do it, we continue to dream in silence. We start to to maintain our silence and do things in secret, to never share things with people. Because oftentimes when we share things with people, and this reminds me of the words of Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey once said something that if you want to kill a big dream, tell it to a small-minded person. Oftentimes, people cannot think beyond where they are. That's why when you tell them things that are outside of the extraordinary, they pull you back with weights. And this is exactly what was going on with the story of Ham and Hoy, basically it was the story of last week. So this week it's actually the story of John and Michael, the twin brothers. So this is to say that this is actually what happened in the story of Where Has My Ceiling Gone, where John had a dream of one day seeing himself as a teacher, but the community he lived in, his family background, made it impossible for him to dream more, made it impossible for him to be successful, made it impossible for him to continue dreaming about to continue dreaming about one day seeing himself as a teacher. And in life, we do go through a situation that puts us in a position where we sacrifice our dreams. And what I love about this story is because of this book, it relates a lot to our reality of life. Because in most cases, like I said, when you try to tell your dream to a small-minded person, you get distracted. You sometimes lose your vision. You sometimes lose yourself along the journey of trying to do whatever it is that you want to do. Because oftentimes we get told that we are incompetent. We get told that we cannot be able to do the things that we dream of doing because of the situation we are in. They make it difficult for us to be able to dream more and do the things that we want to do. Like we see it in regular basis, and these are the things that are happening in our lives. A lot of us have dreams of seeing ourselves somewhere in life, of seeing ourselves succeeding and doing well in life. And oftentimes what happens is that you may be having children, and your children or the coming of your children make it impossible for you to continue dreaming. Because when you get out of the gate, when you come back home, you have to come back having money or holding something that's going to or holding a bread so that you can put it on the table so that your children can be able to eat. That's why a lot of us young people, we lose our dreams when we give birth to our children. And this is something that happens more especially to ladies. And not to say that men don't experience that, but it mostly happens to ladies. When a lady gets pregnant, give birth to the baby, their dream just vanish. So the situation of giving birth to your child, or the situation where your child gets born, it's a situation that puts you in a position to sacrifice your dream. And a lot of people, you have parents and your parents pass away. When your parents pass away, you have to be independent and take care of yourself, because there are some family members who cannot be able to be with you in your journey, who cannot be able to be with you in your life. And I remember one person in particular, even though I cannot mention his name, he was in a situation where his mother died and he had to take care of his siblings. He had to drop out of school in order to take care of his siblings because of no one could take care of them. And he worked so hard. He dropped out of school. He sacrificed his education in order to go find peace jobs, in order to take care of his siblings. And this is a situation that many people find themselves in. To say that I'm in a situation that makes it hard, or in a situation that made me to sacrifice my dreams. And there are countless of situations that puts us in a position of sacrificing our dreams. Because I can tell that wherever you are, if you find yourself stuck, wherever you are, if you're in a position where you cannot be able to pursue your dreams, it's because of there's a situation you are in right now that makes you to be able to, a situation where you are right now that makes it harder, and a situation that makes you to sacrifice your dream. So this is exactly what happened with John, to say that he had to sacrifice his education, his dream of one day seeing himself as a teacher, in order to help his father to be able to make a living, and so that they can be able to put a bread on a table and to also support his family. And I think a lot of us can relate to the story, and more especially to the subtitle, to say, is this it? Is this as good as my life will ever get? Because most of the time when we find ourselves having to hit so many challenges, having to attempt so many times and failing to succeed, we often ask ourselves the question that, is this it? Is this how my life will ever get? Because I've been in those situations for countless of time, whereby I attempted to do something new in my life and I failed. Where I attempted to do something in my life and I got hit with so many challenges that made it impossible for me to succeed. And I found myself down on my knees asking myself that, is this it? Is this exactly how my life will ever get? And I think it is until we find ourselves in a different environment where we start to think different and see our dreams or plans becoming real. Because most often when you find yourself in a certain environment or in a certain position in life, or with certain people you associate with, you find your life to be difficult. You find life to be difficult. But when you change the people you associate with, you start to see your dreams becoming real. You start to see your life changing. You start to see your plans working. Why? Because of you have changed the people you associate with. And sometimes it is with the environment. Like I say that most of the people everywhere in this country, or South Africa, when we find it difficult for us to be able to succeed, the big cities that we see or that we imagine ourselves succeeding in is Johannesburg, Polokwane, Durban, and Cape Town. Why? Because of in those places, there are people who are there to help each other. There are people who are already moving in their journey of life. There are people who are already working to change this world and make it a better place. You see, so the change of environment and the change of people you associate with sometimes do make a difference. And I often tell a lot of people that if you find yourself having to face the difficulty of life, if you find yourself in a position where you think that life is difficult, just do one thing for yourself. Change the people you associate yourself with, and change the places you go, and change the environment that you live in. Then you will start to see progress. Because a lot of us, we want to see our dreams becoming real in an overnight. And most of the time, it doesn't work like that. You just have to keep taking what we call baby steps. Baby steps are very important, because baby steps is taking one step at a time, moving closer to your dreams. And there's a point in my life where I started to realize that if you are 10 inches away from your dreams, or 10 steps away from your dreams, when you take step number 1, you are only left with 9 steps or 9 inches. When you take the second step, you are already left with 8 steps or 8 inches. So never underestimate the power of baby steps, the power of the step 1 that you take in your life. And I think with this question of why are we still stuck, we all have reasons as to why we are still stuck and never progressing in our lives. And although we may be having different reasons, there's one common common answer that can be able to help us to start working on our plans and seeing our dreams become real, which is changing your environment and changing the people you associate yourself with. Because your environment and the people you associate yourself with determines the height at which you will fly. Because I've came to realize something interesting, something important in life, and I think it's something that we need to put in mind, to realize that for you to move to the next level, you need someone by your side. You need the right person who can be able to help you navigate your journey. You need someone to be able to help you figure things out. For you to be able to move to the next level, you need someone who can bring you resources to be at your disposal so that you can use those resources in order to move to the next level of your life. We need people. I remember I had an interesting conversation with Ron Mars on the Unpacked Show podcast. And I asked him, I don't remember the specific question that I asked him. And his answer was that we need each other. And I've actually realized that in life, we need each other by our side to be able to move to the next level. For myself to be where I am, there are people who've turned themselves into step ladders where I step in order to move to exactly where I want. And if you can imagine yourself that wherever you are in this point in life, there were people who actually helped to carry you throughout difficult times in order for you to be where you are, in order for you to be successful, in order for you to excel in whatever you do. And even at this point in your life, you have a vision of where you want to see yourself where you want to see yourself at. And there are people by your side who are helping you. It can be your friends. It can be your mentor, it can be your family, it can be your partner, or each and every person who is in your life basically to help you move to the next level. So this is to say we need people in life, but we need the right people who can be able to elevate us, help us to navigate our journey for growth, help us to be able to see clearly as to where we are going. Because when you are in a journey where people doesn't understand where you are going, it becomes difficult for you to reach your goals, because you spend most of your time trying to make people understand where you are going. And most of the time, this is something that I've actually had to realize in life, that most of the time we spend our time trying to persuade people, trying to make people believe in our dreams. And at the end, we find ourselves stuck, never going anywhere, because people don't understand exactly where we are going. And that's why Steve Harvey once said something that the reason why people don't understand your dreams, it's because of God didn't show your dreams to them, but God opened and reveals your dreams to yourself. That's why when you tell people exactly what you want to do in your life, people find it hard to believe in you, because of we see with eyes as people. We believe what we see, but with God, we believe through the vision. So that's why when God tells you your vision, you have to keep it to yourself until you implement it, so that people can see the bigger picture. People can see a final product of what you have done. So as we go about building our lives, as we go about doing whatever it is that we want to implement, or start whatever it is that we want to start, I believe that we don't need to spend our time persuading people. We just have to start doing whatever it is that we'll do. People will believe you along the way. People will believe you as they see the final product. Because if you spend most of your time trying to persuade people, you're gonna end up getting stuck and never going anywhere. And here's a killer question that I want you to ask yourself right now, to say, in your life, if you are not succeeding, look at the people around you. Are they succeeding? Are they making progress in your life? Because it is impossible for you to never make progress in your life while the people in your cycle are making progress. So if you're not making progress, it means the people in your surrounding are not making progress. And that should be a red flag that tells you that change your environment and start putting yourself in the midst of people who are making progress, who are excelling in your life. Because there's a beautiful words, as I love to give quotes, that says, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Friends, this is what we had for you this week on the Unpacked Show podcast, unpacking the question that comes in our mind as we go about building and improving our lives. Feel free to share your thoughts on the comment section below. Tell us your perspective about this topic. Tell us how it changed your life. Tell us how it gave you a new perspective of life. And tell us the next question that you want us to unpack on this podcast. Until we meet again on the next episode, be blessed, be healthy, and as my role model Vusi Tembekwayo said, have the spirit of the underdog. Goodbye.